Thus, grassroots dual power is a situation wherein a self-defined community has created for itself a political-economic system which is an operating alternative to the dominant state capitalist establishment. The dual power consists of alternative institutions which provide for the needs of the community, both material and social, including food, clothing, housing, health care, communication, energy, transportation, educational opportunities and political organization. The dual power is necessarily autonomous from, and competitive with, the dominant system, seeking to encroach upon the latter's domain, and, eventually, to replace it. The creation and implementation of this second power marks the first stage of revolution, that during which there exist two social systems struggling for the support of the people. One for their blind, uncritical allegiance. The second for their active, conscious participation. Aside from revolutionary upheaval, the very formation of a dual power system in the present is in fact one of the aims of the dual power strategy. We seek to create a situation of dual power by building alternative political, economic and other social institutions, to fulfill the needs of our communities in an essentially self-sufficient manner. Autonomy and relative independence from the state and capital are primary goals of dual power, as is interdependence among community members. And, again, while a post-insurrectionary society which has generally surpassed the contradictions indicated by the term dual power is the eventual goal of this strategy, the creation of alternative social infrastructure is a desirable end in itself. Since we have no way of predicting the insurrection, it is important for our own peace of mind and empowerment as activists that we create situations in the present which reflect the principles of our eventual visions. We must make for ourselves now the kinds of institutions and relationships, to the greatest extent possible, on which we'll base further activism. We should liberate space, for us and future generations, in the shadow of the dominant system, not only from which to build a new society, but within which to live freer and more peaceful lives today. But where does the role of resistance fall among all this construction? During the dual power phase, it is not only important to build the foundation of the new society, but also to diminish the strength and capacity of the old system. We must first make space within the still dominant system in order to have room in which to build society anew. Therefore, not only must we form alternative institutions, but also counter-institutions to resist and assault the status quo. Counter-activity includes everything from protest to direct action, but is defined as activity which actively opposes the status quo. The intricacy of analysis demanded by the kinds of activity counter-institutions engage in forces us to deeply reassess what have become common, almost default, practices among radical activist groups. Successfully melding the counter-activity of Zis with the proactivity of AIs requires a new level of strategic and tactical comprehension and coordination. Community. For our purposes, community refers to a self-defined group of consciously active individuals located in local or regional proximity to self-defined. The main tasks of community development are 1. The internal development of alternative and counter-institutional structures within the community. 2. The expansion and diversification of the community itself popularly, not geographically. 3. The subjective personal enhancement and education of community members. 4. Constitution of a sovereign municipality having reached a critical mass of stable, participatory support. 5. The identification of the community within the context of a worldwide revolution. We'll handle the last directive first. Once we have generally identified and defined our community, and this is an ongoing, unending process, we must recognize it, and have it recognized from without, as part of a larger, essentially global revolutionary struggle. Communities revolting in isolation will fail. And while dual power will develop at different rates in different societies, regions and localities, all dual power projects must be autonomously affiliated. We are trying to revolutionize society, but to do so on a scale with which we can grapple. Direct democracy, at this stage, lends itself best to the community or smaller unit. A single city may have to be divided into several dual-power municipalities, depending on its size and the wishes of its residential members. It's generally inconceivable that a unit larger than a city, state, region, etc. could function as a directly democratic dual-power community, where face-to-face interaction and the potency of an individual's impact on pertinent decisions is imperative, at least at any early stage. The problem of scale is a simple one, but one without easy solutions. We want to radically reorganize all of society, but in a decentralized manner. This means there can be no central committee on a national or continental or global level which dictates or directs the development of individual communities. The revolution must come about from the bottom up, from the outside in. If there are to be institutions and associations which extend beyond the neighborhood and community, they must be put together after the autonomous units neighborhoods, municipalities, etc. are defined. Should we decide to set up an elaborate system of strata neighborhood, municipality, county, state, region, nation, etc., each unit must come about, from smallest and most intimate, first. And then we can affiliate with other so developed units to form networks. For example, we organize our neighborhood into a dual-power network, and that neighborhood association seeks out nearby neighborhoods and develops another network to form a municipal network, which networks with other local municipalities to form a city or county dual-power, and on up the list. Realistically, we have to expect that dual-power networks will first form at the community municipal level, at least in most urban zones, and will then break up into neighborhoods, or however the strata will be defined by those involved. This approach still lends itself to direct democracy. However, we cannot form a continental dual-power network, for instance, and then divide it down. We would be spending too much time traveling to meetings to develop our own community.